So we're gonna do some hobble stuff. Cliff and I probably, however Cliff does it, I've probably done it, and however I do it, I'm sure he's done it, but I know we do it differently. Okay. So go ahead and start your way.
Okay.
And then I'll just throw in any.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, I'll tell you guys a little story. Obviously on my end of the country here, I take a lot more flack for hobbling horses than Brett ever will out where he's at. Most people don't understand why you would hobble a horse. They don't understand what good it does for a horse, and really just have a lot of misconceptions about it. But for me, I don't care if that horse is never going to be hobble again. It's something they should all experience because it just might save you a big vet bill or even their life one day. You know, it's really changes the way a horse thinks when they can find submission in their feet like that. And if all the old timers always talked about you got to get to the feet, you got to get them to think from their feet up. Well, what better way is there to do that than teach them submission in the feet, teach them that I could take your feet away, I can give you your feet back. And actually a friend of mine just pulled in, a big black horse that's on the trailer with her. She sent me that horse during her last trimester when she was having her baby and asked me to ride him. I think it was his 3-year-old year. I rode him for like 6 months, and she said, you just do whatever you want, but don't hobble him. I'm afraid of all that. And then she called me back. She said, you know, I can't tell you that. You do. I don't want to know about it. You do what you need to do. And I said, thank you. And one of the first things I did was hobble him. He was pretty big and pretty rude. And he took it great. He was really good about it. So about a year later, she calls me, and I got a text message from her and a call. I see there's a video. I didn't even watch it yet. She calls me, and I hear tears in her voice. She goes, you saved my horse's life today. I said, well, how did I do that? She said, well, he and his buddy were out in the pasture together up on top of the hill. Something spooked him. They ran down the hill. When he hit the mud at the bottom of the hill, foot wide open, he went right through that panel gate. And when he got up, the gate was crumpled around his legs, both legs stuck in it so badly that when they got to him, they had to cut him out with a Sawzall. And she had a security video so I could see the whole thing happen. And that horse hit that gate, he got up, he went like this once or twice, and then he stood there. Even when his buddy ran past him and ran down the road, that horse stayed there, and he never ever resisted that panel. And at 5 full minutes, he stood out there while that other horse raised hell running around. All the other horses are running, he stood there. You see the whole video of it. And that would end his life, I'm pretty sure of it. If he went to thrashing.
Probably both of them.
Probably both
got
of
out
them.
And run with the gate.
Yep, or he might have killed somebody running past him, dragging that gate. And I mean, she was bawling and just saying, you saved his life. I'm so thankful that you hobbled. And she had me come back and hobble everything on the farm. Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. A horse is always going to put his foot somewhere it doesn't belong. And if we can maybe help influence that outcome, that might be good.
All I'm doing here is I wrapped my lead rope around her legs, just showed her it was there. She's really good about her feet and really wise. And so as soon as I touched her, she tried to lift a foot, and I just used that rope to contain it. No. And she thought, well, that's odd. And so she picked the other one up. Must be he wants this one. He just too dumb to ask the right way. So nope. And I held it with that rope and just held it there. And so now all I'm doing is just taking this foot and putting it where I want it. And I'm going to do the same with the other foot.
And guys, this falls into the same thing we've said a lot over the course of the weekend. Horses learn a lot when we show them that we can take them in and out of balance. If we can take their balance away and then give it back, horse starts to regard us a lot more highly than any amount of bullying them or trying to be, you know, I don't know, just being hard on them the way some people think you have to. I've got to show them who's boss. Just show them you can take their balance and give it back, and they will start to believe you.
And so the whole leading them by the foot idea, if they're like pretty bad-minded, I'll make a lot bigger deal out of this leading them by the foot, in the sense that I will spend the time until I can lead them all the way across that arena by 1 foot.
I'll do it off a saddle horse.
I do it off saddle horse because I'm too lazy to do it afoot. But she's not bad-minded at all. And so I'm not even going to worry about putting the effort in to try to get this step forward on her. She'll let me have it, and she thinks about it.
Go lay down.
And see, even there where she got a little worried, she made a better decision. I gave it back to her. And so that's why I started off with the making a lateral step here. Just because it's easier to get some movement. Wonder if we can go this way.
That. There you go.
There we go. And so she's wise enough to figure out, I'm not sure what you want or how you want it, but I know that the answer is come to you. Whoops. Here I'm being a little forceful because she left me to go talk to his horse. And so I'm just being kind of rude about this. Hey, there. This is where it's so much handier to have that help horse to do it.
Do you want him, Brett?
Actually, no. I was about to say so much handier to have that help horse, but not everybody's got a help horse, so we'll just do it afoot. All this stuff looks like
How are you guys?
Looks like it's not working for me, but I'm getting a pile of stuff done here.
Those are my
Not what I
coolers
originally
over there.
set
If you
out
guys
to
want
do,
sit
but
down.
got all that rope and stuff tangled up,
Out here, isn't it?
falling whole.
I love coming back to this place. It's like, but it's a nice.
You got to
this
take the
whole area is
opportunities.
my favorite area in Ocala.
Just like what Scott said, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, because if it goes wrong, then you got to improvise. So that didn't go exactly perfect, because I was actually just about to put it on the other foot.
Made it out. See you in a little bit.
She went to moving off, kind of lost track of me. But I take advantage of the fact that I can get these ropes all around her legs. There we go.
Took that much better than you thought.
She took it way better than I thought she would.
That could have been a big one.
Then we're just going to go back to what we were doing.
I just told your story, Jocelyn,
There we go.
about Falco with hobbles.
So there she led, real soft off of 1 foot.
Do you always rope both front feet?
Not always.
I stopped for the most part.
Yeah.
Found if they can yield one.
They can figure out the
Yep.
other. What I was fixing to say is, if they're bad-minded, I'll do the other
Oh
foot.
yeah, I'll do all 4 feet.
I'll do all 4
Yeah.
feet. She's good-minded. And so that right there on a good-minded one is about the extent of my hobble program.
Same. That's actually exactly how I do it.
That's funny. I figured we'd, like I said, I knew you'd done it every way in the world, just like
That's
I have.
why I asked about the other front, because that's the only thing, like, I was like, well, I didn't know if you were going to do it or not, but yeah, otherwise it's exactly. I just kind of pull the feet wherever I could be creative enough to think to take the foot and see if they give it. How short do you like to go between?
That's what I was fixing to talk about. I like it. I used to make it short, like
me too.
almost touching.
Yep.
I thought I was really proving it to him.
Yep.
Anymore, like she adjusted and she wanted a little wider than I had it. I tried to bring it in just a little tighter than where they want to stand comfortable. If it's too short, especially these first few times, they get sore and they get nervous, and then they get
pretty
worried.
off balance, I think.
I think they feel off balance, and then you get them where they really freak out.
That's right.
And if they're too close and they panic and go to lope around here and lunging, they'll run that hind leg through almost every time.
Yeah, I've had it happen.
Yeah, and so I let it have it a little wide. I don't care if they stumble around and wander around a little bit. But what I'm going to do is just show her I got her feet tied. So she wanted to come with me there just because she's polite and is used to coming with. I walked off, she wanted to come with, and I let her feel that was her feet were tied together and she can't go. I walked off to the side, so she had to take a step forward. So if she did panic, I've got someplace to go. If I walked straight back and she tried to come with me and panic, she'd end up right on my lap. So I'm going to do that same thing, move off to the side here. I want her to stay, but she says, dang.
So the release of her feet dictates the stop or go of our feet. So if he's moving and she stops with her feet, like she picks up a foot and stops, typically I would just stop dead there just like Brett did. Like you just get stopped, pet on them, reward them.
Your horse is leaving, speaking of hobbles. Now she's really thinking. So I got her twisted around enough that she had to move some part of her body, and she didn't really know what. And I did that on purpose. My goal is not necessarily for her to stand dead shot still for the first time I put them on. My goal is for her to not panic and to learn to give to those feet. So she was following me around, and I even had my hand there where she could kind of touch with my nose, so I'd draw her around and get her kind of kinked up to where she had to move those feet. And I want her to learn that now, how to move her body. Well, I'm still here and got a hold of this. So that way, if I ever do leave her all the way alone, she can take care of herself.
It looked like she was going to stand up.
Yeah. I was less worried about her standing up. I was more worried about her taking a lunge towards me, and I was just putting something in the way.
If it does escalate there, what is your response?
My response is just stay there until things slow down, you know. That's why I keep a hold of this. I can just hit a jog and keep running to her hip and running to her hip and running to her hip, you know. And sometimes there's been times I didn't do as much homework as I thought I should have, or as I should have.
Yeah.
And I've been a lot of times running to the hip and with this hand bopping them in the eye so they don't get on me until those feet finally get still, and then, oh, good job. But that's why we don't just hobble them and walk off. I don't make them learn this on their own.
I used to do that a bunch.
I have hobbled and walked off.
I used to. I just hobble and come back after lunch.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out quite so well.
A lot of times it did, but not always, yeah. But yeah, years ago, if Charlie had asked me when do you hobble them and how do you do it, I just said, first chance you get, and you put them on and you go.
Once
and you
I'm not going to get kicked in the head getting them on.
That's how I did it forever, but even the ones that lived through it weren't as good about my horses now. You know, my horses now, I get to branding and hobble them. Doesn't matter where I put them, they're there 3 hours later.
Yep.
Would you have, in your former life, done that in a stall to keep them romping around? Or
No, I'd have probably done it in the arena, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, because in my fouled way of thinking in those days, I wasn't thinking about keeping them from romping around. I'd give them the most space in the world.
Let them sort it out.
And let them sort it out, prove to them they couldn't go anywhere. I might have done it right here in this pasture, you know. And like I said, it worked some of the time. It worked often enough that I kept it up for a while. But I had a lot of horses that the worst thing that happened was that it took all the hair off their legs. I had a lot of them that the best thing that happened was that it took all the hair off their legs. You know, it's that anytime we're leaving at this stage, anytime we're leaving it, I'll let him figure it out on his own. To me, that's animal abuse, you know?
Yeah.
Once they're, you know, especially his age, but once they're 30 rides down the road or however long or whatever, and I tie one around, so I'll go have a beer and let him figure it out on his own.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. It's something they already know, and let them figure out. But this is brand new. That would be abusive for me to just hobble her and walk off.
Can you speak to the height in which you set hobbles?
Okay. Yeah, I put it between the ankle and the knee. There's a lot of times it ends up down on their ankles, but that's where I always start out. There's a lot less stuff to get to hurt there. It's easier for me, so it's dangerous for me to get my head down there and put those hobbles on. And if something goes wrong and they get scared, it's real dangerous for me to put my head down and try to take them off. So the higher up they are, the less danger there is for me. A lot of times a horse that's been hobbled a lot, especially if it's one that will cruise around a little bit, those hobbles will end up down by their ankles. But I always start up higher like that. I've found with the first few hobblings, if you put it around their ankles, they panic more. Why? I don't know. So here's kind of my last deal before I call them hobble broke. If I can walk all the way around her, stand in this blind spot a second. And she honors it. You notice she's blowing a little bit. She's not worried or scared, but that's a lot of her emotion coming out of her, because this is the first time she's ever been by herself and couldn't move.
One of the things I like to do to really reinforce kind of the positive, kind of dopamine fueled mindset for my horses about the hobbles is that I'll use them at times like when I groom my horse.
Right.
Something pleasant, I'll put the hobbles on and groom them. If I'm gonna give them a pan of grain while I'm waiting to go ride or something, in the morning we're gonna go cowboy, I'll give him his grain, I'll put his hobbles on and let him eat. When I stop, after we got cows through the gate, and I'll lift his saddle to cool his back or unsaddle, I put my hobbles on. So after a while, he starts to say, every time those hobbles go on, pretty good things happen. I don't have to be worried, I don't have to be scared. And that really changes how they feel about them. Like literally it gets to the point where my little red mare Chick, as soon as I put them on, she licks and chews.
Yeah, I've got a lot of them that, oh, thank God I know what I'm supposed to do, nothing.
I have to do nothing.
The last thing I'll point out there's when I took those hobbles off, if you saw I reached down, picked her foot up and put it out here. I just reached down, picked it up, put it out here, and then I let her off. I was just showing her she's unhobbled. And she was a little hesitant to lift that foot because she'd already been trained to keep them together. Horses are so sensitive, they can feel a fly on their back. Well, a lot of times they don't realize they took the hobbles off. And so then you're in this little pulling war, and come on, let's go, you're unhobbled, and they'll take this step, like, oh, geez, I'm undone. All you did there is teach them to lie. You taught them that I lie sometimes. And so I try to, at least the first 10, 15, 20 times that I hobble them, once I take those off, I pick that foot up and move it and show them that I took them off. So that way they're not feeling like they're stepping off into the abyss. After a few times, they learn to pay attention.
Also, disclaimer, you get them pretty good and hobble broke, and then you put a pair of splint boots or standing bandages, they will think they're hobbled a lot of times.
So to the Patreon crew, you guys are the reason we're able to do this and do the extra things and really do all the YouTube videos too. We wouldn't be able to make it work without you guys. So thank you so much. And any of the rest of you can jump on and watch any of these extra kind of things that we do on Patreon and see what's going on there. So check that out if you can.